All right, I've delayed the inevitable for too long. This is part one of my final Oscar predictions. Part two tomorrow. If you guys enjoy this video, leave those comments. Drop the like, of course. But I want to hear, what are you thinking about these categories? And today we are talking the acting categories and director. Tomorrow, everything else, including Best Picture, which I'm still debating, I'll be honest with you. Also, in my actor ranking, I told you all I would pick a comment to showcase in today's video. Zachary said, I hope this is the comment that Austin picks. I thought it was funny. Comment down below. I'll pick a comment today's video for tomorrow's, but yeah, I had to, right? This will be fun, though. We're going to look at awards expert. We're going to look at the Kalshi markets. We are going to take everything into consideration, preliminaries, where my heart's at, where my brain's at. But this isn't who I want to win. I'm doing that later, okay, in a couple of days. This is who I believe is going to take the cake. And so here we go. We're going to start with the two obvious categories, and that is supporting actor, supporting actress. Let's start with, I believe, the biggest runaway winner of this entire Oscar season. I'm looking at the tech categories. I'm looking at documentary, international feature. Nothing is as big of a blowout, and really has been this entire season, than Kieran Culkin. And that's where we're going to begin. Kieran Culkin is going to win an Oscar. And the only way that we could have prevented that, I say that like I wanted to prevent it, the only way that that wouldn't have happened is if SAG would have thrown us a curveball. But even then, I look at this category and I'm like, who's in second place? You know what I mean? If we look over on Kalshi, a 95% chance. Look at that graph and how he has just elevated since the beginning of December, from a 27% chance at the beginning of December. So if you had a hunch in early December as to where this was going to go, first of all, kudos. Second of all, Guy Pearce was right behind him at 20%. I think the entire way Guy Pearce has been number two, but it has just slowly escalated into pure domination, a 95% chance, with Guy Pearce in second. Now, over on Awards Expert, we're looking at just as much domination with Pearce, Yura Borisov, and Jeremy Strong all tied with 2%, and poor Edward Norton down there at 0. But regardless of who you have as a potential upset here, this is not really the category to rely on that. I think this year's Oscars are going to give us a couple of really big surprises. Now, it's up to us to pick out what those surprises are. This is not the category for that. Your winner, Kieran Culkin. And it's pretty cool to see that because Succession is one of my favorite shows. Next up, we are riding the same wave here. Zoe Saldana is dominating this category. Not a Divine Joy Randolph, not a Kieran Culkin sense of domination, but we are close, right? 88% chance over on Kalshi. The markets have continued to work in her favor, and I think the last straw was SAG, right? If Ariana Grande would have pulled it out in SAG, which a lot of people had her, I believe it was 55-45 over on Awards Expert, but there was a good chance to make this a race. Unfortunately, and I say that because, you know, I want Grande to win, but this is one of those categories that has been in the favor of Emilia Perez, honestly, from the beginning. I mean, there was a point when Grande got the Golden Globe where you could have said, okay, this could become a race, theoretically. But when Ariana Grande was winning some of these Critics Award, HCA, and I thought there was potential for a Critics' Choice. I thought there was potential. And really, SAG was the last, obviously, because it was the last award ceremony, but the last bit of hope that she had. But even then, I don't know if I would have predicted her, because it's been so Zoe heavy the entire race. And again, checking out the Kalshi markets in mid-December, around the 13th, 14th, 15th, Ariana Grande had a better chance to win just because so many people were championing it. And there was a point in time where Wicked was kind of on top of the world. And, you know, we said it on this channel, right? The Wicked surgence wasn't going to last. I never really thought it had a chance at Best Picture. I thought maybe at a point it could get close, but that was around when Ariana Grande was favored for a lot of people. But then as soon as Zoe just kept winning those awards, all of the ones that she was projected, along with the ones that she wasn't projected to win, there were so many times where it's like, oh, Ariana Grande's got to win this one, right? Because we've got to make this a fun race. But It just never happened. And so this is just as big of a runaway victory as Kieran Culkin. I'd say Kieran's is bigger, according to myself and a lot of people. But at the end of the day, good for William Perez. Son of a bitch! By the way, I want to pause really quick and say a certain podcast that I used to do may be returning this week with a very special Oscar episode. So if you want to find the link to Movie Mode down below, be looking forward to that coming very soon. But I want to go back to what was a blowout victory at a point, what was we all assumed to be a race that was over.
It's over, ladies and gentlemen!
Until a little award show called the Screen Actors Guild Awards kind of flipped everything on its head and flipped the script for Timothée Chalamet. Timothée Chalamet didn't have much of a shot prior to that awards ceremony. Now, if you go over to the odds, the markets over on Kalshi, Chalamet's up 12% to a 33% chance. Adrian Brody's still a 67% chance, but he was in like the 75-76 range last time I checked before the SAG Awards. And so, this is a two-horse race. Ray Fiennes, thanks for coming. Everybody else, you played a good game. It's a two-horse race between Adrian Brody. But in reality, it really is still a one-horse race. And I know I've not given up on Timothée Chalamet yet. This is the first one today where I'm like, there is still a shot Chalamet pulls this off. One, Oscar voting's already done for, so the people that were mad at his speech, they can't change their vote now. I thought that was so ridiculous, the amount of hate online for this poor kid who just wants to be good at his job. I wish I had that mentality. Y'all already know who I want to win this. It's Coleman Domingo. Poor guy doesn't have a chance. But if you look at Chalamet's kind of marketing campaign, the way that he's put himself out there for this movie, and, you know, every actor campaigns when they're nominated for an award, right? But what Chalamet's been doing on the level in which he's been doing it, I believe has kept him in this race. Now, again, we look at Brody and all of the preliminary wins. He has basically all the wins that you need other than SAG. SAG is a big deal. That voting body does carry over, but if you look at some of these others like the BAFTA, and then even beyond that, a body that doesn't carry over, but an important preliminary award in the Critics' Choice Award, which I'm a part of, all of these things kind of lead us to believe that Adrian Brody, while compromised at this point, has always been on top. And that's, first of all, that's what she said.
That's what she said.
Chalamet could have given up a little while ago. I'll give him kudos for going on SNL and doing the Kendrick Lamar interview and just doing a lot of things that keep his name in the zeitgeist. Because that's important with an Oscar race. You want your name to just be firmly entrenched in people's minds. So when they're voting, even if you're sitting there going, man, well, Adrian Brody gave a better performance, but Timothée Chalamet was on SNL, so at least you're thinking about it. And so I'm not going to say, even though I believe Brody's going to win, spoilers, I'm not going to say it's going to be a blowout victory. I actually look at the odds over on Kalshi, and I kind of respond to that. I do believe this is more 70-30, 65-35, as opposed to a Kieran Culkin or a Zoe Saldana blowout. This is a closer race. But the more I've sat back and thought about it, while I'm not going to rule a Chalamet upset out, that's what it would be at this point. It would be an upset. It would be a fairly big upset. Because when you get so many preliminaries, and then a movie in The Brutalist that, you know, these anonymous voters are coming out and saying, I didn't finish The Brutalist. I didn't make it past the 2.5 hour mark of the film, even though there was only 30-something minutes, 40-something minutes left. Okay, whatever. You're still watching Adrian Brody and understanding how good this guy is. It's not like a Felicity Jones, okay, you dropped off at the halfway mark and haven't even seen her performance yet. It's understood mutually that he is phenomenal in this film, and for a long time, he was my favorite performance of last year. Now, that's been surpassed, and if you watched my ranking video, you know that, but he's definitely phenomenal, and say what you will about the guy. Yes, he already has the Oscar, but the narrative is still kind of there. I feel like when the narrative is going to be there for Timothée Chalamet, we'll know it, because there is that, oh, this kid's really good, he's been really good, he's going to get his due one day. I think that was the SAG. I really do. He gets his due for this year with Dune and with A Complete Unknown. But when it's going to be Chalamet's year, I feel like we're going to know it, right? This felt like Brody's year. When it's Chalamet's year, we're going to feel just everybody's talking about him. He's at the forefront. He's where Adrian Brody is right now. I feel like it's going to be one of those Kieran Culkin situations where it's just going to be Chalamet, and he'll get his. And I truly believe that. But the more I've thought about it, and even though SAG was a big deal, I'm not going to push that to the side, the more I'm just on the side of Adrian Brody, and I believe Brody gets it done. When you're at the forefront for that long, and things may start to change at the last second, I think it's too late at that point. So my winner is Adrian Brody for The Brutalist, not fully counting out Timothée Chalamet. All right, we've got 2 more to talk about in this video, and the next video, I got to make up my mind. So this is a good chance to leave your comments. Let me know, what are you thinking about all of the remaining categories? But let's talk about Best Actress. This is a race. This is not over. As much as anyone wants to say, I'm not saying it's 50-50. In my brain, it's kind of more 60-40, but it's a race. And it's a race that could end in either direction. Now, I do want to start with Fernanda Torres. You all know where my heart's at on Fernanda Torres. She is my victor in here. She is the victor in my heart. And I'm not even going to rule out I'm Still Here in international feature. We'll talk about that in tomorrow's video. Okay, so tune back in. It's going to be exciting. But Fernanda Torres getting the Globe win and nothing else is not enough. It's not enough to say she's still in the race. It's not enough to put her up against these. It's a 2-horse race with 2 very champion horses, and Fernanda Torres in that distant 3rd place. The bronze. Okay, bronze is still good. You got 1 big win, and I believe her performance was good enough to get I'm Still Here nominated for Best Picture. And so if these other 2 movies of Substance and Honora, they weren't nominated for Best Picture, and I'm Still Here was, I'd be like, it's Fernanda Torres, right? Or even if we would have gotten some surprise wins in other places, like SAG would have went somewhere random, if BAFTA would have went somewhere random, but they didn't. And because they didn't, I wanted chaos. I can't give Fernanda Torres chaos, even though I believe this is the first major one where it is Fernanda v. Demi v. Mikey Madison, because in every one of these major preliminaries, almost, it's just been 2 out of the 3. This time it's 3 out of the 3. That's just not enough for me. So I'm going to rule Fernanda Torres out, even though, again, it breaks my heart. Going over to Call Sheet, this one is in the same vein of Best Actor. Demi Moore, 65%, a 13% increase as of late. Mikey Madison, 27%. But if you go back just a couple of days, right before SAG, Madison was actually in the lead. Because Madison, along with Honora, and I think that's the pairing we got to look at here. Honora has been a movie that has surged. Well, I was going to say as of late, but about a week ago, it was surging because of the surprise PGA, the surprise DGA, the Critics' Choice win for Best Picture. And even though Madison didn't win there, Madison won the BAFTA, which to me was like, where did that come from? What in the world? She was the last person I expected. That's not true. I had her in second, I believe. But she was one of those where I'm like, I just don't think she can win the BAFTA because I don't know if that voting body. But that voting body is closest to the industry voting body that we get for the Oscars as any of them. I mean, that and SAG. So you look at Demi's win in SAG, you look at Madison's win for the BAFTA, but then you got to look at the movies, right? Honora, that Best Picture, Best Director, Best Writing, Best Screenplay, all of those, if they happen, that to me pushes Mikey Madison's chances up big time. I mean, if it wins Best Picture, it would make all the sense in the world to give the highlight of the movie, Annie herself, the win for Best Actress. And that Best Picture, Best Actress combination is one where it just makes all the sense in the world. But then I go to Demi Moore and I look at a combination that often gets it done. I think most recently, Brendan Fraser in The Well. And a lot of the times, you have the best makeup, the best hair and makeup winner fall in line with our best actor or actress winner. And this year, The Substance is going to win that. Like 100%, not out of the blue. It's going to win big time. And it's not like The Substance is just some scrub movie and it only got 2 nominations. It only got Demi Moore and hair and makeup, which again is a lethal combination. But it is a movie that got nominated for Best Picture and Best Screenplay. And even though it's not going to win any of those, the fact that it got those and Demi Moore is not just an outlier from that film tells me that she is just as in the zeitgeist as Mikey Madison is for Anora. So I look at both of these and the strengths that they come into this day with, and it really is, I mean, it's slightly tearing me apart. I think it's closer, like I said, more 60-40 than 65-28 with Fernanda Torres in third. And again, man, I want to go out on a limb. I want to say Mikey Madison. But to predict Mikey Madison is for me to basically predict Anora wins Best Picture, gets one of the other ones like screenplay or director, and maybe I do predict all of those things. But to see those all coming, that combination, and then to say, well, because that happened, Mikey Madison's going to win, I don't know if those things are going to happen. And it's just too many levels to this to feel good about predicting Mikey Madison to win this. And Demi's got the narrative. The narrative is important here, right? We've seen these random performances before, like Glenn Close. So listen how crazy this is. Prior to DGA, over on Call Sheet, looking at the markets, Brady Corbet was at 85%, which means if you would have thrown $10 on Sean Baker at that point at an 8% chance, my goodness, what a decision that was. I believe that's going to pay off because now we're looking at Sean Baker plus 7% chance as of late, a 68% chance. So even more than slightly more, close to what Brody is, even more than Demi Moore. Great odds to win this. Now you ask yourself, Austin, why is one DGA win such a big deal? Well, I don't believe it's just the DGA win. I think there are a lot of factors here, right? Not just DGA that week. That was DGA, WGA, and PGA. That's a lethal combination, not necessarily for Best Director, but that's something that started to shift the odds back in Anora's favor, which it was in, and then people started to say, well, maybe The Brutalist is that movie. I don't even believe The Brutalist is that movie anymore. I think the movie to think about right now for Best Picture is Conclave, and because The Brutalist is such a distant third at this point, for me to go back in that Brady Corbet direction, especially at a 31% chance over on Call Sheet, it's hard to do that. It's hard to stray away from Sean Baker. And then the speech he gave, and I know voting was in before that, but at the Independent Spirit Award, like there's just so much going on right now in his favor to where I'm feeling good about Sean Baker. Now, we can't throw Brady Corbet out with the bathwater here, right? The BAFTA Golden Globe combo, it's not a lethal combo, but it's a good combo to have, especially BAFTA, where there were some things that went in Anora's favor. At BAFTA, Conclave ultimately won Best Film, but Brady Corbet still got it done. And so I can't throw that out, right? And then you look at the Golden Globe, and while it's not as impactful, no, when Brady Corbet won the Golden Globe, like, he was on such a high at that point, like awards expert and the Call Sheet markets, like everything was going so heavily in his favor. And I thought when John M. Chu won Best Director at the Critics' Choice, I was so like, I can't believe that just happened. Like, that would have determined the lot for me personally because I was leaning in Brady Corbet's favor. But then Brady Corbet didn't win, and you got Sean Baker sitting there like, okay, I need something. And then Sean Baker gets DGA, and that is such a big deal. The DGA potential Best Picture writing winner, possibly combination, and Sean Baker just at that point kind of skyrocketed far above where anybody else was. And I'm not saying the Independent Spirit Awards was the nail in the coffin, because that is like the last thing I could say is a nail in any coffin, but it's still a fairly big deal. And it's one of those victories that just, and the speech is so good, and I'm like, man, I feel like because The Brutalist has just kind of died out, And I hate to say it like that, man, but other than Corbet possibly coming in and winning this category, I mean, I guess you've got Brody winning as well. So you got Corbet winning, Brody winning. I mean, it's not going to win writing. It's not going to win any of those technicals. It'll win a technical, I believe, but it's not going to project it into the lead. I just feel like Honora at this point is so strong. It's hard to go against Sean Baker. And part of me really wants to predict an upset in today's video, like a massive upset. I just can't do it because, frankly, I want to be right. And so I'm going to pose the question to you all. What upset today in this video would you all have predicted that I didn't have the guts to? Now, in tomorrow's video, I'm going to predict a couple of upsets. I think with these main categories, it's going to happen somewhere. I just don't think I can do it. I don't have the guts to predict which one. I've chickened out, man. If I had to say one of these is going to be a huge upset, I'd probably go Mikey Madison just because that race is way closer than I think any of the markets or any of the apps will tell you. I believe that is genuinely a close race. But I've got to go with what my brain's telling me. I'm even going above my heart because my heart wants Fernando Torres and my heart wants Brady Corbet or Coralie Farja. Those aren't happening, all right? So what do you all think about these 5 categories? What's going to happen? Those are my predictions. Tomorrow's video, we're doing everything else, all the technicals, and then I pose the question to you, even if you want to comment today's video, what movie is winning Best Picture? Is it Honora? Is it The Brutalist? Is it Dune? It's not Dune. Or is it Conclave? And leave those comments down below. And in tomorrow's video, we're going for it, baby. We're predicting some upsets. Go over on Kalshi and keep up with the markets this weekend, and I'll see you very soon.